All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to talk about lighting. Now, photography is photographing or light graphing. You are really dealing with light. And the people that make the best photographers are the ones who really understand how to engage with the light source that they have and how to effectively use it with the camera settings that they can manipulate. Okay, so you can really use lighting just with the sunlight or ambient light outside. However, if you can take your light sources and have more than one and manipulate them in a way where you control the light and you can control the camera, that's where you're going to start to see more advanced photography skills develop, and that's where you're going to start to see a separation between people who have cameras and people who know how to take photographs. So I want you guys to follow along with me here today. Your learning goal for today is going to be learning how to set up lights for a studio and the impact of those lights on your content. So here we go, learning goal. Work on understanding light setup and how light can impact a portrait or still life. Okay, you're gonna be photographing portraits and still lifes today, so it's gonna be up to you. What kind of portraits is fine? It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a figure, it could be an animal, it could be yourself, it could be a family member, but you will be photographing portraits and still lifes today. A student can independently demonstrate the setup of basic studio lights and control the lighting on their subject. This also includes your exposure, so that is going to be on the camera. You'll see a little demonstration on how to control exposure on my iPhone a little bit later. To-dos. Okay, vocab, new words, here we go. You're going to answer this in either the Jamboard or the chat room. Key light, that is a type of lighting. Key light is your main light. It is the light that is putting out the most emphasis on your subject, either portrait or still life. So the key light is the most important light. It is going to be the light that really illuminates what you're trying to photograph. The fill light. Now if I have a light source here on my face, pow! I'm going to have a big shadow over here. I want shadow, but I don't want a dark shadow. So I would use a fill light to fill in this area here. It's going to be a softer light than the key light, so I don't lose shadows, but it's going to help eliminate hard shadows. So you're going to fill in the dark spaces with the fill light. It is not as bright as your key light. It is the second most important light in a studio. So first important light, key light. Second most important light, fill light. Now you can have a background fill light. That would be taking a light and putting it on the background to either illuminate or blow out or create some sort of lighting effect in the background. So there is a background fill light. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Rim lighting. Rim lighting is putting a light right on top of the head or right behind the head where it illuminates the rim of the head. Now that is more advanced lighting. The rim light is important. Let's say if I have a dark background and I have dark hair, the rim light will illuminate my hair so my model pops out from the background. Okay? You can also have some significant meaning ideas where you create a light source around the top of the head. Okay? Backlighting. So backlighting is where you take the light and put it behind your model and it illuminates everything coming out from your model, creating a really, really hard shadow on your model. This is how you create silhouettes. Backlighting is light from the back, pointing towards your model, pointing towards your camera, making everything around your model bright, creating a silhouette effect. And then background lighting. So background lighting can be used to illuminate the background or it can be used to eliminate the background. Okay, so it depends on what you want your viewer to see. If I am doing a still life or a portrait where it's really just about that face or that object, I am typically either gonna take a bright light and blow out the background so there's no shadows cast from any of the other lights, or I'll keep no lights in the background so it's just empty and blank. But if there are shadows being cast from the key light, there's a key light in front of me, if there's a shadow cast on the wall behind me and I don't want that shadow, I would use a background fill light to get rid of that shadow. All right, so that is some vocabulary. You're just gonna answer what each of those are in the chat or in the Jamboard. Look at the lighting diagram. We'll do that here in a second, and where to place your lights. I need a new keyboard for my iPad, and I should probably proofread. Look at the effects of different lighting setups. We're going to do that here in a second. And then look at the effects of exposure, how exposure can change how your camera interprets the light source. All right, so this is a studio light setup. I want you to see the effect of a studio light, what the studio looks like in that space. So in this particular photo shoot, we have one key light. Okay, and that key light obviously is shooting down onto our model like this. That is going to cast shadows here, here, here. Okay, it's going to flood the top of the face and create shadows below the face. And so as we look at our example here, we've got this dark shadow under her chin. We've got nice deep eye sockets from that cast shadow there. Nice pouty lips because of the cast shadow here. Cheekbones are present because of the cast shadow there. Now, according to this picture, there is no fill light. You could use a fill light. Oh my goodness. Done. You could use a fill light to eliminate any any shadows under the model's chin here. But that is if you chose to use a fill light, and they're not using a fill light. Okay, that's how far away the photographer is from the model. Okay, still life photography. I love still life photography. You should love still life photography because you have the ability to do this in your space. Now, this and this are not the same. How can you tell, Mr. Riggins? Well, look at the whipped cream not on this, and look at the whipped cream on this. So that's how we can tell those are not the same. However, this probably is the same photo shoot given the location of the beans, also, there is a spoon, but obviously the spoon has been moved here. So I like to set up studio backdrops. You don't need a whole studio backdrop. We will have some when you come back into class. In this case, we've got some old ripped up paper, and I don't know what that is, but we have created limited space and limited background so that when we focus on just this object here, we don't have to worry about anything in the background. So I would encourage you guys, set up backgrounds for your still lifes. We will be doing product photography a little bit later in the year. So we have a light box right here, okay? So this is a huge light source coming down onto this picture here, and it's creating really even ambient lighting. Now I have ambient lighting in here, it's always fluorescent lights. They're not great, okay? Ideally, I would have multiple spotlights that I can move around with what's called a diffusion box or a light box around it, which helps soften up the intensity of a single light bulb, and it allows you to control where that light's gonna go. So this has a big light box right above it here. You can see it with this big bright space, and it is projecting light onto the top of this here, creating one-sided highlight, just like that, okay? Notice it's dark shadows over in this area, and there's a big highlight right in this area here, and the light source is hitting at the top of the spoon, and that way you can see a little bit of the indent and some nice texture in that whipped cream. They're photographing white objects, which are really hard in light, so you want to have good lighting so that you can create some elements of depth if you have a light-colored object. Okay. Here we go, the effects of lighting. So this is a single, one key light. Okay, right on our model here, just like this. And what you're going to get is a really, really hot spot on the model's face, and you're going to get shadows right here. So hot spot, shadows. All right. Now over here, notice this light here is a hard light. This light here has a diffuser on it, so you get softer lighting on the model's face. It's still a key light. There's one light, but the shadows aren't quite as harsh. However, there is no fill light. So it is still very, very intense shadows. Now this is a spotlight. It is one direction, very intense on our model's face right there, and that is going to create a very, very hard lighting. In addition to that, it's not going to flood the background. So if you look in these other ones here, this one here and this one here, the light is flooding the background. This one is not flooding the background, it's just on the model's face, creating a very, very intense light, very intense shadow, and a dark background. Okay, next one here. Further away, bigger light diffusion box. Okay, so now it's still one key light. The light is filling the room evenly. However, the light is further back. It's got a larger diffusing box on it, and so you get really nice even lighting on our model. However, we still have the hard shadow right here. Okay, here we go. we still have one key light. But we have changed the space, or we have changed the pose of our model. So now we have light hitting here on our model. It is creating light in the ambient space. It is illuminating the background. We still have that hard shadow right here. Another key light. So if our model is facing a different direction, if our model is facing another direction, then obviously we want to move the light to the other side, and that way the shadow over here is very, very small, not as intense, but it still exists. All right. Here, still one key light. The light is hard, and it's directly on the model's face, and it is creating a division right there. Okay. Shadow side. Oh, that is a terrible arrow, guys. Shadowy side, bright side, one light hitting our model on the side of the face. So you can see just moving your light or moving your model really does change how your model will look. Now we have got, my guess is this is going to be a reflector. Okay, so we have one key light, and then we have some sort of reflecting surface over here. Now the camera is here, so we don't see the reflecting surface in the picture, but that reflective surface has become what we call a fill light. All right, so now we could say key light plus fill light. Okay, and what we've done is we've eliminated that hard shadow on her face there. So if you come up here, take a look at the shadow here compared to the shadow here. This has a fill light, and so we still have a shadow on that side of her face, but it is much, much softer. Okay, so again, we're gonna ignore this one, this one, this one, this one. Okay, you can look at those and study on the video if you choose to do so. Now, what I want you to see is this right here. Still one key light. One key light. However, the key light is directly on our model. Boom, right in front of the face, and the camera is behind the key light. So ring lights are great for this. We don't have any ring lights. I have a miniature ring light right here, which looks decent enough, okay? But that's gonna give you really, really even lighting on your model's face, but it's gonna be very hard lighting, and you're gonna get shadows back by the ears, back by the hair, but it's really gonna illuminate the face, and it will also soften the shapes on the face. Notice her eyebrows. Let me just use this here. Notice her eyebrows, eye sockets, I guess her brow lines, and her lips and her nose, much, much softer. There's less shadow because it's going straight onto her face, and the shadows are very small and very intense. Now, intense 2 key lights. This is 2 key lights. You can have 2 key lights. I mean, you can do whatever you want. 2 key lights. Okay? So there is no fill light. We've got a key light and a key light. And what that has done, that has eliminated all shadows. Now if I look up here, this is what a fill light will do. It'll leave a shadow, but not a dark shadow. 2 key lights will eliminate all the shadow. So the face is very, very bright, very, very illuminated, and there are no hard shadows. Now it is important where you put those fill lights. If you put the fill lights, in this case over here, sorry, not fill lights, key lights, where you put the key lights, in this case, the key lights are behind our model to the side, you get this very unusual shadow right here, which I don't think looks great on a model. I don't know if there's a place for that. Maybe you can come up with a concept for it, things like that. But poor lighting situations make poor models, okay? All right, here is an example of some studio lighting. We have got 4 lights in this image. So here is our, those lines just jumping up. Here's our model right here, okay? And we've got a key light right here on our model's face. Where is that key light? That first key light is right here. Key light, that is the primary light source for our model. However, we don't want that to blow out his hair and his shoulder. So we now have a top rim light that is diffused. So we get this nice lighting on the shoulders, on the hair. Okay. We also want to create a nice light on the deltoids here. We got to emphasize those muscles. So we have what I would suggest are 2 more rim lights. These rim lights are illuminating his shoulders. Okay. Now you could argue that this top key light is illuminating his shoulders. However, given this backflow of the light, I'm assuming that is from those corners on the outside. This is what a studio lighting situation looks like. You've got a backdrop and you have multiple lights and you're controlling all of them. Okay. Here, we've got this boxer here. I don't have an example of the final photo, but I guarantee it was fantastic. You can get a little bit of illumination of this bag in the background. We've got this one primary key light on our model here, but somewhere in the studio, we have a light source coming here and a light source coming here to illuminate the edges of the bag in the background. So that's important because that's going to help illuminate an object in the background, which will probably be blurry, but you'll know it's a punching bag. Okay? And lastly, we have outside lighting. Now here, I don't know if they want you to see his shorts in the final photo, but we have got a key light, and then we have background fill lights. One thing I love about flashes in the outdoors, you can do what's called high-speed sync photography. That allows us to do this. That allows us to get really, really fast photos of our model that are really bright and intense, but expose it in a way where the clouds in the background are very, very intense and dark and bold. You're not going to learn that this year. You're going to learn it next year in advanced photo. It's very tough to do, and we have limited flashes. So you'll learn that next year. But you can use studio lighting anywhere, and that is the goal of this class and for this lesson. So following along with me here, we're going to go ahead and set up some studio lights, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to photograph an object on my desk using studio lights. All right, guys, welcome to the demo space. So what I want to do, I'm going to do some photographs of two different objects. One is going to be a slightly larger object that is got a matte finish. That means not glossy. The second one is going to be a softer, smaller object, but does have a gloss finish. Okay? And what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to photograph the object without lights. And then I'm going to photograph the object with lights. And I'm going to move the light around so you can kind of see how that affects the different images that I'm going to get. Now, I'm going to attempt to photograph these in a way that you can see what my screen's doing while I'm photographing those. Okay? I'm going to put this in a time lapse. You're going to see me photograph this with the lights in different areas. You can see me photograph that with the light in different areas. And you guys will see this at the same time while my screen will show what my phone is seeing. And you guys will see the final products here. So bear with me. Here we go.
Hey, kids.
Gotta lower that light.
This is a tasty burger.
All right, so there you have it. I photographed from side view, plants, object, our little character from a side view, top view, close view. Photographing with the light over here is more like a flood when it says small. Photographing right here is more like a spot, and then moving that to the top. You can use lots of things for lights, guys. I've got this light right here. I've got a window over here. I could just simply set this by the window and control the light that way. I've got skylights over here. I could put it underneath the skylight and make that work. If I have multiple phones, I could use the light from a phone, or if I have lots of flashlights, I could use flashlights as a lighting tool. Pick one key light, okay? I used just a key light. Pick one key light, just a key light. No fill light, no rim light, no background light. Just use a single key light and play with photograph from one side to the other side and see how that changes your photo. In addition to that, you should change your exposure. Maybe make it brighter, maybe make it in the middle, maybe make it even darker. And you're gonna see that on the phone here, okay? Good luck, guys.
This is a tasty burger.